The U.S. men's national team is currently in the middle of a four-game friendly window as the second to last time we'll see this squad before the World Cup. But we're going to take a pause away from the soccer for a second to talk about a subject that I'm absolutely fascinated with, the production side of American soccer, how the team actually sets up, how they take over a stadium, and how they bring the game day experience to all the fans coming out to the games. And to do that, I've brought on a special guest. He is the official DJ of the U.S. men's national team. He is DJ Flipside. Flip, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here. I'm blessed to be a part of your show, and I'm excited to talk about everything, man. Let's go.
Absolutely, man. So I want to know, first of all, how long have you been working with the team?
I've been DJing with them since the last World Cup qualifier. And so that's like four years ago. So it's been a while, man. I've been able to DJ for both the men's and the women's team. And currently I'm doing mostly the men's team. But yeah, it's been about 4 years. Yeah, it's been a good time.
So if you were there 4 years ago, you were a part of the World Cup qualifying cycle where the men failed to qualify for the World Cup. This year is a lot different. Now, on the production side, one of the big talking points throughout World Cup qualifying this time around is that this year this cycle they opted to go with the MLS stadiums, while in the last cycle there were a lot bigger stadiums. Can you tell me a little bit about the difference between the games in the football stadiums compared to the games in the soccer stadiums, and kind of the different atmospheres and the different things that those bring?
Oh yeah, totally. Like if for example, we just were at FC Cincinnati, and that stadium it's built for soccer. Like it's nice. It's very intimate, where it's a great experience where you can see the game and have like a great fan experience. They have all these cool designs on the outside of the stadium where when you're walking in, there's we could play these movies on the screen, and the where I DJ is like with the crowd. Like I'm in the middle of one of the pathways to actually DJ, and you could like come in and see me be a part of the experience. And it's great to see a sold out crowd in the MLS stadium, because if you go to like a football stadium, there's I don't know, 80,000 could be possibility seating, and some of these venues, they're a lot more intimate, so you get that full soccer, like it's built for soccer. So you think about how you go as a fan, we look at that. We want to make sure that your fan experience is great, and how you walk through, oh, the bathroom's not that far away. Oh, wow, look at this screen. Oh, what, like a lot of these MLS stadiums that we're sitting at, they're like new technology, up to date, and like very future forward kind of thinking. So it's kind of cool to be in these very intimate, built for soccer stadiums.
Yeah, I went to two games this qualifying cycle. I went to the USA versus Jamaica game in Austin, and I went to the USA versus Panama game in Orlando. And both of them were tremendous atmospheres. The Austin stadium is just immaculate, but I think that the Panama game in Orlando was a better atmosphere. There was more on the line. It was intense. It was super loud. There were a ton of fireworks and pyrotechnics. So that was just absolutely tremendous. But I didn't get the opportunity to go in any qualifiers in the big football stadium. So what's like the atmosphere difference? What has changed, or what's been the growth between the last World Cup qualifying cycle and this one?
Our partners at BetOnline continue to be your #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including the latest odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so head to the website today or use your mobile device to join, or use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.
I think we've done a lot of like I said, the intimacy of the MLS stadiums is definitely, you can feel the energy of the crowd a lot better, because it's all close.
Yeah.
Sometimes some of the football stadiums, they're a little, the players are, or not the players, the fans are a little bit further away, Plus, they're higher up depending on how it's built because of, they built to go up, to go up. So it's kind of the atmosphere. It doesn't feel the same as the intimacy of these MLS stadiums. It's like I said, they're built for soccer, so you get that kind of energy. And sometimes in some of these football stadiums that were older, we had to like bring in like subs, like subwoofers for the sound because the sound quality wasn't great. So we actually rented out big subs to go throughout to help the presentation of when we walk in, the energy of the music when I'm playing, all these different things that might necessarily think about that these stadiums already have set up. So when you're dealing with some of these older football stadiums, you have older technology and all that. So it's kind of it's nice to be in the newer MLS stadiums.
Yeah, there's trade-offs either way, like I really appreciate watching the U.S. men's national team in a soccer-specific stadium. I feel like that's the venue that it's supposed to be in. I understand with a football stadium that you're going to get a lot more people, but I can't help shake the feeling that this is not what this was intended for, if that makes any sense. It's sort of like whenever you watch NYCFC play in Yankee Stadium. It's like there's this understood thing that you're playing in someone else's stadium, and it doesn't feel quite right. I just can't help shake that feeling. So I do appreciate the presentation, not just in person, but also on TV. It makes for really great TV watching, seeing it in the soccer specific stadiums. But I understand the argument of potentially lower prices, which is definitely a big thing. I understand you don't have any control over that, but lower prices in a bigger football stadium, more people get to come in, potentially grow the sport that way. So I get that there's conversations to be had on both sides, but I'm curious with your particular story, how does one end up becoming the official DJ for U.S. Soccer? What was that process like, and were you a fan before you became the DJ for the team?
Oh, 100%. I was always a fan. So I was, I grew up a soccer player. So my whole family played soccer, and soccer is a big part of my life. So to be
you were telling me your brother played overseas.
Oh, so he played in like high school. Like he did play with a club team that just like they played overseas. And so he got to travel. My dad was like a coach. He coached like high school, and he had some junior college coaching. And then my sisters, they all went to the Division I, or they went to college for soccer. And so soccer is built into me. And as a DJ, I grew up, since I was like 13 years old, I was DJing. And so the part of the reason that I became the U.S. Soccer DJ is in Chicago. I'm actually the official DJ of the Chicago Bulls as well, and I'm also on the radio here on B96, which was it's one of the big stations here in Chicago, and I would DJ at all these big events that we would have. So my boss, Aaron, he actually knew who I was. He was a fan of me as a DJ and producer of the music group, the Jump Smokers. So he knew about me, and he was like, man, we should get Flipside to DJ. And one of the people that works with him, she actually was a soccer player who was trained by my brother, because my brother's a coach now. So he coached her, and she was like, I know his brother. We could totally talk to him and like get him in. So she made the connection, connected the dots, and then we talked, and I'm like, yo, I'm in. I love soccer. Let's make this happen. And so because he already knew who I was, it wasn't like me trying out or something like that. It was just a conversation to be had. I had all the experience of DJing for the Bulls, so I knew how to run game entertainment, which is different than just being a DJ. So you have to understand how to be on the headset, how to communicate, how to run the scripts, how to do music when people are on the host. Basically, everything that happens audio-wise in the game is run through me. So, musically wise. So I'll play music beneath the host when they're talking and like, hey, we got this going on in this section and blah, 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 blah. And I'm playing like instrumental music behind that. And then, so like all of that kind of comes from me. So that experience of doing that for Bulls games translated into doing U.S. soccer games.
Yeah, U.S. Soccer kind of serendipitously just released a video, a behind the crest video on the production side of U.S. Soccer games, and you got to see a lot of what you're talking about. And your boss Aaron, who you were talking about, was predominantly featured in the video. He was the guy in the control booth, firing, like telling people, "Okay, do this now, anthem now, do this now, play this now." Pyro now, whatever, whatever it had to be. He was kind of cueing all that. And I've actually, on a much smaller scale, I've been a part of that for some live events. And you were telling me you were the guy who actually has to press the button to start the national anthem, to fire that. And like, I've had to do that in the past. And that is so much pressure to do that for like, I've done that for like a local 4th of July event, in my small hometown. Do that for a U.S. soccer game where it's going to be nationally televised. That's like a pressure cooker.
Well, what's crazy is that, like funny you say pressure cooker, is that it was so hot in like Cincinnati that we were worried that my laptop would overheat.
That's the thing. You think about all these things. You think about, do I have the right file downloaded? Is my laptop connection good? Is something crazy? Is my board going to short circuit? Like,
yeah. So I mean, we have backup plans, but yeah, when I DJ'd, there was one game that I DJ'd. I can't remember who we were playing against, but it was in LA, and I had like no shade, like it was beaming hot in LA. That my computer was like, nah, we're not going to do this today. So it like actually overheated for like 5 minutes. And then we had to get like ice and like fans to like cool it off, or like, put me in, like find an umbrella just to get some shade. And then, they played some like music in the background. And then once my computer got back and going, we were like, okay, cool, we could do this again. But that was like, the lesson learned. I was like, hey, like we really need to make sure that I'm in shade, or like that, because when it's 90 degrees, the equipment, we have to have some kind of protection from the heat, protection from the sun, from not only my gear, but like, my laptop, because that's where all the music comes from. Yeah. So yeah, like you said, I'm firing off the Moroccan anthem. What happens if I accidentally play the Ukraine anthem? This is the wrong one. We can't. You have to be on point. And luckily, like I said, I have all that experience of doing the Bulls games, that I know how to keep everything in order. There's a lot of fluid moments, like when we don't know when the goalkeepers are going to come out or when the player is going to come out, and there's different kind of music that we play. Like when our team goalkeepers come out, there's a song we play for that, but we don't know when that's going to happen. And then we have a special moment for when our players come out. So there's a certain song for that as well. So it's like, okay, well, who's coming out first, or when why are these guys late, or are they on time, or look, they're early, like you have to be prepared to play these. I know it sounds like, oh wow, you just got to press a button, but when you're in the middle of DJing and doing other music stuff, then you got to pull up the file. Like it's, there is a little pressure in that moment, because you never know when things are going to happen. So it's everything else is pretty lax, but I feel like that moment of when everybody's about to come out, that's when we start like the official warm up music, which is like a lot of EDM rock, and then a lot of player requested music as well too. So that's pretty cool that this cycle, they were able to tell us, hey, we want to hear some of these songs in the warm-up. So we're like, all right, cool. So I was able to put that into their mix, and they got super hyped for it. So I love that I was able to help them get hyped for the game.
That's really cool. I had no idea. So whenever you're watching the warm-up, some of the songs that you're hearing are like directly requested by the players. So if you're interested in what the players are listening to, that's a good indication right there.
Yeah, it's cool. Like I was saying, like a lot of our brand of the men's U.S. soccer team is like very EDM and rock heavy, and like EDM and rock mashups and stuff like that I create. So when you hear these hip hop songs coming into the warm up, you're pretty like, those are like, hey, these are the players wanted this one. So it's like, it's really, really cool to be able to make that flow of that EDM rock and hip hop together.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by like you just said, the brand that you guys are trying to create with these games. The brand of American soccer and whatever that is such a deep and fascinating discussion that people argue about online constantly. But you guys, you and your team are responsible for actually executing that, to create curating that and executing that. And I'm curious, you said you're also the DJ of the Chicago Bulls. What are some like key differences that you noticed in I guess like the brand of Bulls and NBA basketball compared to what you guys create for American soccer?
Um, I think there's definitely a lot of similarities in terms of like how like we run the game. You know, like when, for instance, in the NBA, when the doors are open, we don't go full hard energy like right away. You know, like it's kind of like let's. When you go to a bar, you know, you don't want to get blasted right away. Like you kind of smooth things in, like let them kind of cool in and walk in, like with like a very nice mix of music. And that's kind of similar what we do with US soccer, where it's not like in your face the whole time. And then when the player warm ups start, you can feel this is the energy. This
Hmm.
is where we want you to be super hype, and like that's kind of how it sets up. There's flows like up, you know, like a wave. So it's kind of very similar with the Bulls, where we do that, where we kind of like let people get comfortable, walk around, enjoy, and then you feel this energy shift about, okay, this is now it's time to go. Let's go. So one thing that I learned, like as a DJ, like if you DJ clubs, if you go hard at the very beginning, they're out of energy by the time, you know, game times would start, or like when it's time to get hyped. It's, you know, they're out of energy. So it's kind of like saving some of that for the moment of the game and the warm-ups and all that. So there's definitely that kind of similarity. And I feel like when I do Bulls games, there's of everything where, you know, I play um you know, I'll play a lot more pop stuff like, you know, Dua Lipa and Rihanna and stuff like that. Where with the U.S. men's soccer team, there's a lot more um, aggressive or like EDM stuff and like old school rock stuff. And then I like to I take the time to curate of EDM mashups with rock stuff. So it takes some of the classic history of rock music and really brings it forward to like today. So we have that kind of energy with with US soccer.
Yeah,
If
one of
if
the
that makes sense.
one of the really interesting things about the U.S. World Cup qualifiers that you really notice is that whenever the U.S. plays away World Cup qualifiers, the fans are separated. You know, there's the away section and then there's the home section, and you don't cross. Whereas in America, in the home qualifiers, the fans are all intermingled and all intermixed, and there's not a lot of that separation. And there doesn't seem to be a need for it either at the American games. And what you get is like a very mixed, like a mixed culture where you get people from different countries kind of like intermingling. And I'm sure you get the opportunity to kind of meet and speak with these people. What is it like getting the meeting all these different people from different parts of CONCACAF?
Yeah, it's really really cool to, you know, when I'm DJing in the crowd, or you know, they'll kind of come up to me and be like, "Oh my god, this is so awesome! You guys have a DJ. You know, the music is great." And then you're like, "Oh, where are you from?" "Oh, I flew in from this place, or I flew in from this place to watch this team." And it's really 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 cool because like you know, like for instance with Morocco, there were people that were telling me that they flew in all over the country to see the game, and this was like the first time that the Moroccan team has ever played on U.S. soil. So this was like a historic event for them. So it was kind of cool to see that interaction and have, you know, all the USA fans that were there. You know, were awesome, and they, like you said, there's like no fights. It's not like it was brutal where you need to separate them, and but it was definitely a lot of a lot of a lot of fan noise in that game. And that's like you said, you know, of MLS stadium, you have that intimacy. And when you have a full sold out stadium, it feels like a real soccer game. It doesn't, you get that, like if you're in England, how you have everyone chanting and everything like that. That's the kind of stuff that's great about being in these soccer stadiums.
Yeah, and of course, the big controversy from the Morocco game was Christian Pulisic's statements after the game, and you just pointed out that like the Moroccans that were at the game were also mostly Americans, and this was the first time they got to see their national team in this country, so they were flying from all over the country to be at that game, which is a cool thing. It really is. It's a uniquely American thing. It's frustrating for American fans that we don't always have home field advantage, but it's just one of those interesting dynamics that we have to deal with in this country. I am curious about your interaction with the American Outlaws and if there's anything special going on between you and them for these games.
Absolutely. The American Outlaws are super important, in my opinion, for every time that we go to these games. They're like the energy, and they help lead the whole stadium when it comes to chants, when it comes to just guiding the rest of the fans who don't necessarily know the chants. They hear it like, okay, we can follow along. We want to be a part of it, and they help bring that USA fan energy. And we get to talk to them. We put them on camera at certain moments where, hey, we're gonna pass the mic to American Outlaws, and then they will say, hey, we're gonna start this chant, and follow along, and it's usually easy enough that they can, and it brings this whole other energy. Without them, I don't know how the stadium would sound. They're like super important. They bring their drums, they lead the and you can catch the vibe. You totally catch the USA vibe with them there. And like every time they do corner kicks, they do LMFAO shots. So like that's like an easy way to, shot, everybody, everybody sings along with that, just to be able to guide a whole stadium. It brings that atmosphere to USA. Like they're super important.
You were telling me before the interview that a lot of the people that you work with at US Soccer are soccer people, and you guys are aware of like what's going on, like the gravity of the situation in some of these World Cup qualifiers. Whenever the US is playing a big game, like for instance, whenever the US was playing against Mexico in I believe it was Cincinnati this year in November, was there like a heightened sense of emotion? Was it palpable from the staff in the lead up to that game?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, USA Mexico is always huge, but with the stuff that was happening with the goalkeeper of Mexico,
Memo Ochoa saying the man in the mirror statement. Yes.
So let me give some credit where credit is due. Where Aaron, my boss, he's like, "Hey, if we win this, you're gonna play man in the mirror," and I'm like, "Absolutely, we are for sure doing that." So we're up 2-0, and he's like, "Yo, make sure you have it ready." I'm like, "I got it ready." So I'm going through the song. I'm like, that's not a song you start like at the beginning. So like, I skipped the first chorus, I skipped the second chorus, I went to the third chorus. So this is nerd stuff, but like, it starts with the third chorus because I wanted it to have that energy of the hook right away, and then instead of going back down to the verse, it just builds up for the rest of the song, right? So like it goes into the key change, and then it goes into like there's all this, the energy is different when you start it from there. And that was like a big deal. Obviously Christian Pulisic scored, he pulled his shirt up, man in the mirror. All the news people started talking about, oh, they're playing man in the mirror. Like the only people were writing about it. And like, somebody thought about that. And so
what was the reaction in the stadium?
Oh, it was crazy. They were singing along. Like, it was awesome. And then obviously USA wins. So that is a huge moment in itself. So like that win, man in the mirror, there were people that caught it, and then there are people that didn't understand it because they weren't following. But like for the most part, everyone who knew, they knew what that was. That was like one of those, like kind of DJ moments where it's subliminal, and if you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that, it's like all I do is win, like that that energy. But like it was one of those things that I got to give credit to Aaron for saying, yeah, you got to do that, and it was awesome.
So that was a huge moment in World Cup qualifying. I think one of the most unique, controversial moments in World Cup qualifying was the game in Minnesota, in St. Paul. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience?
Yes. I was not there for that.
Oh no? Okay.
Yeah. So actually there's 2 DJs, myself and Amy Robbins, and she's a female DJ. So sometimes we bring in, she DJs for the women's national team now as well. And sometimes she'll come and she'll actually be DJing with you, in Austin. And so the two of us, we pretty much we work together. But what's it called? I'm so glad I was not in that cold game. Like she DJ'd indoors, obviously, for that, because just like heat, your computer can freeze of the cold air. So she, obviously we can't have her outside DJing, because nothing would work. So unfortunately, I don't have experience with that, but I'm just so glad I was warm.
So, are there in the 4 years that you've been DJing for the national team, or what was kind of like the biggest moment, a moment that really stuck out to you?
Man, obviously when beating Mexico is awesome. We've had a bunch of moments that have been just even in terms of when a production all kind of comes together, like in that Mexico game where, we had all the fireworks, we had, all the pyro, the anthem. Like when you create these moments, you get these, oh God, I'm so happy I was a part of that, So like the big production games have always been huge. But on a personal note, one of the times in the last qualifiers, I happened to be walking by, and the players were walking by, and Josie Altidore, he's like, "Hey, you're the DJ, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Man, you do a good job." Like, I was like, "Oh, thank you." So like to have like recognition from players, like that's a really, really cool thing for me, because obviously it's important for me to play music for the fans and everything like that, but there are moments that we can play for the players, like their warm up. So for them to acknowledge, hey, you're doing a good job, then that actually makes me be like have memorable moments and stuff like that. So like those are things that I can't forget.
So the U.S. is about to play their last home game, I should say, before the World Cup. What happens for you? What happens for the production team?
Well, World Cup is happening, so I mean, I'd love to go to Qatar. I don't know if that's. I mean, I would if I would go, that wouldn't be a U.S. National team thing. So that would be like the people who run the World Cup. But I mean, I don't. I hope I can go. I wish I can go. We'll see. We'll see. But like in terms of that, and then when it's just when they have more friendlies, like after the World Cup, then I would do more games for them there until the next World qualifying, and then there's always still friendlies that happen. But for the most part, I do all the stuff that U.S. Soccer is in charge of. So like I wouldn't necessarily do Gold Cup or anything like that because they're not in charge of that. So. But so when it's like U.S. is running this show, then I'm a part of it. So it's really, really awesome. That's part of the future of what's coming with the team. And then like I will just do my other gigs, which is Chicago Bulls, White Sox, and radio, and then my club tours when I DJ all over.
God, that's such a cool job, man.
I'm pretty lucky, man. Like I get to do what I love. I also produce music, so then I have music coming out and all that. So
plug your stuff. Tell people where they can find you. Tell people where they can find your socials, your music, all that stuff.
Yeah, so djflipside.com is the website, but all my socials are djflipside33. So on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that is TikTok. All that is DJ Flipside 33. I kept it all uniform. And then, on Spotify, you could look up DJ Flipside. I'm on there. The new song is called Good Time. And it just came out in March. So, you could find me on Twitch. I DJ most of the time on Twitch as well. DJ Flipside 33. It's all uniform. So just DJ Flipside 33 is the best way. And I use Instagram the most. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. I try to respond to pretty much everything I can on DMs on Instagram. So if you want to reach out, feel free.
DJ Flipside, this was so cool, man. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to take a look behind the curtain on like what happens on game day on like the U.S. soccer production side. I know it's a subject that I'm absolutely fascinated with, and I hope others have appreciated this as well. Guys, take this moment to hit the subscribe button if you haven't, hit the like button if you haven't. Consider becoming a member. Shout out to my tier 2 members. You could get this on podcasts, like the podcast, rate the podcast, all those good things. The Since 76 store is only going to be open for a few more days. So if you want the Kings of CONCACAF shirt, be sure to scoop that up before Sunday, whenever the store closes, and you're going to be upset and sending me emails about why can't you get me one? And I'm sorry, man, we're on to the next one. You had your chance. Guys, thank you so much for watching. For DJ Flipside, my name is Sam. This is the Yank Report brought to you by Bet Online.